Hey there, how there, hello there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to yet another Cutter Top 10 Formula One video. And today we're going to be looking at the top 10 F1 finishes, race finishes of all time. There's been some great finishes in racing, and today we're going to be looking at 10 of them. So here we go. Number 10 is the 1969 Italian Grand Prix, one of the closest finishes ever. Now, timing is everything in Formula One as well as IndyCar and NASCAR. But the fact of the matter is that in F1, it was close and all that. In Italy at Monza, you had Jackie Stewart, who would go on to be a three-time world champion, Jochen Rindt from Austria, who would go on to win a championship of his own, Jean-Pierre Bertozzi and Bruce McLaren. Yes, the guy from McLaren, who's Australian. They were tight finishes when the tracks could occupy four cars going at the same time. Stewart would win the race by 0.08 seconds, or almost as close as the 2026 finish in IndyCar in the Indy 500. And the top four were separated by only 0.2 of a second. That's pretty impressive. Think 1982 when John Cock beat Rick Mears at the Indy by like 0.18 seconds. That's how close it was with four cars, much less two. Number 9 is the Austrian Grand Prix 1982. So 1982 was one of the craziest seasons ever because you had, unfortunately, a couple of driver fatalities. You had one guy who actually ended up being in first place at the time, but unfortunately injured himself, so he couldn't finish the season. And who wanted to win? I don't know who. And of course, Monaco 1982, when it seemed like everyone crashed out before the end of the race. So anyway, Elio De Angelis of Australia and Kiki Rosberg of Finland would battle toe to toe. I think it was Austria. I can't remember Rosberg's thing, but anyway, they had the closing laps of the Austrian Grand Prix into a fight for victory. In a drag race, Rosberg was closing in, but De Angelis survived by decimal .05 seconds, which is not the record for closest finish in an F1 race, but it was still interesting. And number 8 is Senna Mansell 1986. 1986 was known for Mansell having the title won, but he blew out his tire in 1986 at the Australian Grand Prix, and Murray Walker famously said, "Hey, look at that!" But anyway, Senna and Mansell will battle at Jerez in Spain, and one of the big photo finishes. Mansell had fresher tires and was closing in on the great Senna, but unfortunately Senna beat him by decimal .014 seconds. A hundredth of a second. That's amazing. And Mansell couldn't believe his luck and all that. Timing is everything. They do it to 3 decimal points. They actually had to do it to 3 decimal points in 1997 at the European Grand Prix in the qualifying as Schumacher, Hakkinen, and Jacques Villeneuve all at the same time to the third decimal point. Crazy. Number 7 is Kimi Raikkonen's victory in 2005, coming from 17th. The Japanese Grand Prix in Suzuka always is major and all that. But Kimi Raikkonen, the powerful Finn, was 17th and had to go through the field. With a few retirements due to crashes, he looked pretty good. He actually went into turn one alongside Giancarlo Fisichella of Italy and actually swooped in and overtook him. A massive win. Although you could say that there was a couple of drivers in 1982, like to say, or 1981 in Las Vegas, who actually started in the 20s, but they actually took top two. Anyway, that's big. Number 6 is the 2020 British Grand Prix with Lewis Hamilton coming home on three wheels. So Lewis Hamilton and Silverstone went hand in hand 7 times at this track. The most famous one for Hamilton was 2020. Of course, COVID ruining everything, no fans, and they still raced. Lewis Hamilton had a chance to win at Silverstone yet again. Unfortunately, though, on the final lap, his front left tire blew, and basically he was on 3 tires. He still could control the race car, but knew that he had to go quickly. Thankfully, though, he had such a lead that he still managed to win. Max Verstappen was aiming for Hamilton. Unfortunately, Hamilton snuck in and won by a few seconds, so he's good thing for that gap and all that. Number 5 was Jenson Button in the longest F1 race ever by time. So you know how time limits sometimes work in F1. There's a reason for that. 2011 Canadian Grand Prix was chaos. There was massive incidents. There was massive changing weather that actually delayed, that had a massive rain delay. And instead of just ending the race when they did, they decided to wait out the storm and all that. In a 5-hour span, this race happened, and Jenson Button, who was criticized for being on smaller teams in his early days, was at the back of the pack. But thanks to the weather and some accidents, he actually was second on the final lap to Sebastian Vettel. However, Vettel made a boo-boo, and Jenson snuck in, won the race, and took victory in Montreal. It was one of the best ever. Number 4 is redefining wheel-to-wheel racing, the 1979 French Grand Prix. Canadians know this clip of Jacques Villeneuve's father, Gilles Villeneuve, and René Arnoux from France locking wheels when Gilles was part of Ferrari. Even though first place won the race, I can't remember who won the race. I would probably say Desarsares, but probably not. Anyway, so the battle was for second place. Points were on the line. Gilles Villeneuve and René Arnoux were battle in Dijon. Yes, known for Dijon mustard. The relay race duel of the last 3 laps had repeated overtakes, locked wheels, and fearless car control. As they really went for second place, they went balls out. Villeneuve would survive second place and take it over Arnoux. But yeah, it was huge. Very huge. Number 3 is the controversial title decider in 2021. So Abu Dhabi got to host the final race of the year in 2021. Can't believe it's been 5 years since this happened. The funny thing was that Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen actually were tied on points entering the finale. So it was almost assured that one of them would win unless they both finished out of the points by some miracle. Anyway, it went down to the final lap. Hamilton was up on Verstappen. However, an accident by Canadian Nicolas Latifi caused the race to go yellow, and then F1 in their infinite wisdom, quote unquote, actually decided we are going to have this be a race and allowed the five lap cars to be there and all that. So that meant that Verstappen kind of had to jump on Hamilton at the restart, and he did. Verstappen had fresh short tires and passed Hamilton to win the race and the title. It was dramatic, debated, and even the guy running F1 actually quit because of this situation, or probably would have been forced out. But yeah, Abu Dhabi. A lot of people said that this was basically for TV purposes because the rules were before, like for all the races until the final and about past cars and all that. But no, they wanted drama. They wanted Verstappen and Hamilton to drag it out instead of Hamilton win the race and Verstappen being caught behind lapped cars. Number 2 is the 2008 Brazilian Grand Prix. This one's big because of the last lap pass for a title. So the Brazilian Grand Prix was the last race of 2008, and then Felipe Massa was leading things for Brazil, and it looked like he was going to win the Brazilian Grand Prix and be world champion. But then his rival, Lewis Hamilton, yes, in his second year of F1, was hoping to win. He needed to take 5th place. So Lewis Hamilton knew that even though Massa won, he needed 5th place to get enough points to sneak in past Massa. And then on the final few corners, Timo Glock was trying to outduel Lewis Hamilton, lost the duel. Hamilton snuck past him, took 5th place, and by 1 point, he was the 2008 champion, and Massa couldn't believe it. And Brazilians were left stunned. They wanted a world champion after Ayrton Senna. And finally, number 1 is the Japanese Grand Prix 1976. It was decided by 1 point and the weather. The title decider at Fuji Speedway in Nihon was everything. This was actually what I think this was the first Japanese Grand Prix, or was it the second? Can't remember. But yeah, the Japanese Grand Prix was there. Unfortunately, it was marred by torrential rain, danger, courage, and a championship heavyweight threat. James Hunt and Niki Lauda both were racing. Niki Lauda, of course, was the guy in 1976 at the German Grand Prix who suffered that massive crash that burned most of his face. You can recognize that he barely had one of his ears, and he still was okay. He still raced. He only took a few races off, and he still raced. But unfortunately, because of the rain and all that, he had to withdraw because conditions were unsafe. And who can blame the guy? Like Freak. Like, he doesn't want to take any risks. He already had taken a risk in 76 and nearly died. Nevertheless, he couldn't race. James Hunt had to finish third in the top three. And James Hunt, the Brit, managed to take third place, win by a point. And it was the combination of human judgment, risk, and sporting consequence, which is the greatest finish of all time. Hunt ended up winning the driver's title, although he probably felt a little jaded about how he did it. He and Lauda actually were good friends and all that. But don't cry for Niki Lauda. I mean, he won the 1984 championship, so at least he won a championship after his accident in 1976. So yeah, so Lauda did have a kind of a happy ending and all that. But I mean, who could blame the guy? Like the weather just sucked that day. Anyhow, I'm Jeff Diamond at Duke.